what is the process of analyzing art through time to try to figure out what the important entities are for that culture? You just see what shows up over and over and over and over?
Well, certainly without the advent of writing, depictions in art have all sorts of meanings encoded in them. And there are certain, what we call diagnostic elements. Like we can pull apart the same sort of thing in like in the Greek pantheon. You know by their dress and what they're holding what the different gods are. You can tell Hades from Zeus by the different things they're holding, lightning bolts or tridents or whatever it is. So they all have these diagnostic elements to them. So that's how art history goes about analyzing art over time. Once we can put it in a chronological sequence, then we can say, okay, here's a deity here in Chavin culture. Now we move forward 500 years. Now we're in Moche and Nazca culture. Where are the deities here? And what I see is that same guy with not just one or two traits, but a whole package of them that shows up again and again and again for thousands of years in each one of these cultures. He's got circular eyes. He's got a fanged mouth. He's got claws on his hands and feet. He's a humanoid, but he also has snakes coming off of his head like hair and snakes coming off of his belt. And then, not so much in Chavin, but as it goes forward, he starts carting around severed heads, human severed heads. So they're like in the old literature, the Moche will call him the decapitator deity. But then they have these other like, oh, here's the crab deity and here's the fox deity. But if you look at them, like the crab deity is just that guy's face coming off of a crab, and the fox deity is that guy's face coming off of a fox. So I think on that particular instance, I explain it similar to what Zeus did. You know how Zeus was able to turn into whatever animal he wanted to get with the woman he wanted, and he showed up in all sorts of forms, but he was always Zeus. I think that the Fanged Deity manifests himself through people and animals throughout the art, and that there are missing stories of mythology that we don't have anymore.
And across hundreds of years, thousands of years, from Chavin to Moche to Inca, as you're saying.
Right. Wari has them too, Tiahuanaco. That's that famous place, Pumapunku. He's all over there.
I wonder how those ideas spread and morph of this Fanged Deity.
I think people walked and proselytized. And places like Chavin, there's a later one in Inca times called Pachacamac, that are pilgrimage places where people come in to be healed if they're sick, but also just to pay homage to the powers that be. So Chavin was a place where people from the Amazon and people from the coast were all coming together. In fact, we saw it in the archaeology there. There's these interesting labyrinths under the pyramids with the Fanged Deity all over them that have like one labyrinth will have all pottery. The next labyrinth will have a bunch of animal bones. The next one will have a bunch of things made out of stone. So people are showing up and giving this tribute, and they're learning, and then they're going back to their communities. So I think it dispersed from certain pilgrimage spots and became just like pilgrimage spots do. Somebody goes back and they build a temple to the Fanged Deity.
Do we know much about the relationship they had with the Fanged Deity and like their conception of the powers of the Fanged Deity? Were they afraid of the Fanged Deity as an all-knowing God? Is it something that brings joy and harvest, or is it something that you're supposed to be afraid of and sacrifice animals and humans to keep at bay?
I think he had two sides of the coin. Like a lot of the Hindu gods are, one aspect is terrible, the other aspect is lovely. I think he had that same sorts of qualities, because we do see him as a fierce warrior taking people's heads off, and he is a jaguar, which in and of itself implies a certain power and ferocity. But then there are other funny things about him. Like he is definitely involved in a lot of healing ceremonies. And a lot of those healing ceremonies are involved with sex acts when it comes to the moche. There's this whole group of sexual pottery where priests are having sex with women or men. And some of them show their faces transforming into that Fanged Deity, like he is acting through them.
Mhm.
But the thing that most cracks me up that shows his softer side is the Fanged Deity has a little puppy. He has a puppy that's like just dancing around his feet and like jumping up on him in various scenes. They see him again and again. Sometimes he's in these healing sex scenes. In fact, I tracked that puppy from other contexts to these sex scenes where where a priest was having sex with somebody in a house
And there's a
and the
puppy.
Fanged Deity, and there's a puppy just scratching at the door like, hey, you forgot me. And then finally one day I found one with the puppy having sex with the woman instead of
Oh,
the
shit.
Fanged Deity. I was like, no, he really is very involved in this.
Yes.
What is this weird puppy? So he's,
Okay.
yeah, he likes to take heads off, but he also has a puppy he adores.
This is awesomely makes sense now because I saw the opening of a paper you wrote 30 years ago on shamanism and the Moche civilization. It reads, the Moche are the major focus of this paper. Sex, puppies, and headhunting will be shown to be related to ancient Moche shamanism. So now
Yeah.
I understand. I was like, well, the puppies.
Puppies, yeah, it's
All right.
true.
And the headhunting. That's the decapitator aspect.
And I've added rock and roll to that list since, actually.
Which
There's rock and roll, or music is also a big part of it.